Good afternoon, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for Thursday, August the 4th, 2016. Infrared satellite animation showing the leftovers now of Earl. Made landfall last night, as you know, in Belize. Brought a fairly significant storm surge with it. 80 mile per hour winds or so, 85, something like that at landfall. So not terribly strong on the wind side, but I tell you, it's a good thing that in one respect that this landmass was here, because if this had just gone through uninhibited, Earl was on its way to significantly strengthening. As it is, it'll still dump heavy rain over parts of Central America, and then some of this energy combining with the disturbance here over the Gulf of Tehuantepec could bring a system developing on the Pacific side. We'll look at that in a moment. This is the forecast track for the leftovers of Earl. It'll probably be pretty much long gone as an identifiable feature by the time we get through the weekend. But again, there's another system developing down here in the Gulf of Tehuantepec. We can see that on the graphical outlook here from the Hurricane Center for the Eastern Pacific, not directly associated with the leftovers of Earl, but enough energy down in here that something may try to get going and move its way up towards the Baja. So you folks here along Pacific Mexico, all the way up towards the Baja Peninsula, Cabo San Lucas and vicinity, keep your eyes open for this. I'll talk about it more in the coming days. Now, the forecast from Colorado State University's Phil Klotzbach was updated today, and he is looking at an additional 11 named storms. I guess if you take Earl out of that, we still have 10 named storms to go. 4 hurricanes. We had Earl, so this will be down to 4. And then we still have 2 major hurricanes predicted, Category 3 or higher, which would bring the season total to 15, 6, and 2 by November 30th, assuming Dr. Klotzbach and his team nailed the forecast perfectly. They look at all sorts of different factors: sea level pressure, upper level wind shear, the state of the El Nino Southern Oscillation phenomenon, or whether or not there's an El Nino versus a La Nina versus just neutral conditions, and Atlantic sea surface temperatures, all kinds of things to come up with this forecast. And for the most part, it looks like an average season ahead, which should be busy enough. You think about it, we still have basically an entire hurricane season ahead of us, 10 more named storms. That's pretty significant. However, the next couple of weeks may be rather quiet. We'll keep our eye on this. You say, well, Mark, there's nothing there. Well, there's definitely some moisture in here eating away at this Saharan air layer. Obviously, this is a significant flare-up. And so we'll see what happens with this energy and where it ends up over the next few days. None of the models really showing much with it, but right now, a substantial Saharan air outbreak. Pressures are rising out across this area, and the intertropical convergence zone itself getting squashed to the south. And so I don't think we're going to see much in the way of development in the Atlantic for the next week to 10 days or so. Not saying we won't have development, but it's just not very favorable right now. But at the end of August through September, that's when things normally change, and I would expect that they will do so again this year. Earl is actually a little bit ahead of schedule. You know, you see, well, it's August, we should probably have hurricanes. Well, usually it's not until, I think, August 10th or so that we get our first hurricane in the Atlantic, so Earl was just a little bit ahead of schedule, but nothing to be alarmed about. It's not a sign that it's going to be another 05 or whatever. You know, it only takes one, and so use this time of relative quiet, especially for the U.S., to prepare. Do something, at least think about it. I talk about that a lot. At least think about, what will I do if a hurricane comes my way? And maybe that'll lead to you taking some action, because you don't want to be caught unprepared if something substantial or even just a tropical storm comes your way and wreaks havoc on you. Because when it all comes down to it, it's all about how these impact you, right? All right, well, have a good rest of your Thursday. That is it from me for today. Again, I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com, and of course for Hurricane Pro and HD. I'll be back with more for you tomorrow.